Welcome to episode 7 of the Two Guys One Spread podcast. Hope everything's going well for your listeners. We had a couple day break as Tommy went doing some golfing down in Florida.
Yeah.
Looks like you made it back without losing any limbs to any gators.
Yeah, no gators, mostly iguanas. Nothing crazy down there, but it was a good time.
You hit them.
Uh, what's that?
You hit them well.
You know, some couple good ones, couple bad ones. Had some drinks. The first round I might have drank too much, but it was all good. It was all good. I like to mention we went to this crazy bar down there, Joe.
Yeah.
Um, I've never seen anything like it, and
Oh,
I've been to a lot of bars.
I was gonna say we've been some places, so
Yeah, we thought we went to dinner and then we needed a dive bar. Not a lot of dive bars in Fort Lauderdale. Everybody's got money and they're all beautiful people. We're beautiful, but maybe not. We need a little bit lesser of a crowd.
yeah.
So my buddy, does a quick search and we go to this bar and we get in there and try to order a drink. The bartender's a little older, maybe in their late 40s, but in like a bikini. Nothing crazy, but try to get like a vodka 7 Up, and she calls us gay and then proceeded to flash us, and we're like, okay, all right, that's fine. So we finally get our drinks and we're looking around trying to get our bearings, and they had one TV behind the bar. It wasn't a sports bar, but one TV showing graphic porn,
All right. Well,
like 1990s DVD, old school porn.
do you know what was the name of the place?
It was like Bippity Bees, Bippity Boos, Bippity something.
Oh,
So it,
all you listeners. I mean, if you're going down
we're
there,
in the Fort Lauderdale area, and I'm not saying, I mean, graphic. It was the old school. You could buy it at the old store, and just playing in the background, and everybody's just having a good time.
was
Drinks
it,
were real cheap.
there? I mean, how many? There were people there. Other people.
There was some people there. Everybody there was different. A little bit unique crowd. The bartender, so talking to some of the patrons, turns out she's in every movie that is being played in the background. So she was a former porn star, and she likes to show her movies. And she bought a bar, and she likes to show those movies.
All right, there you go. The
Yeah,
people.
so it's a good review.
Yep.
That's the way I started.
I mean, you gotta give it. You gotta go on Google and give it a review.
Yeah, so we checked it. I go, did you look at the reviews of this place? He goes,
Yeah.
no, it just said dive bar. So we checked the reviews, and it goes, the guy's like, worst bar I've ever been to. Trying to order a drink. The lady's calling me names while she's explaining her UTI to a patron across the bar. And I was like, it really sounded like we would pick that place anyways if we had a choice.
That's right. That sounds like the place. Even if you had
Yeah.
read, it, you're like, we're probably
Three
gonna
drinks for $15. I mean, you can't beat that.
3 for 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's why
And Fort
you're going.
Lauderdale, I mean, we were
That's why you're
paying.
going to dive bars, though.
That's right. We were paying at least 12 to 15 anywhere on the by the water, so
Yep.
drinks were
Gotta
flowing good. They
gotta
tasted
start
delicious.
someplace.
If you said anything wrong, she'd flash you and yell at you.
Okay.
So, interesting place. If you're ever down Fort Lauderdale, give it a look.
All
It's a little
right.
plug. They're not sponsoring us yet, but it's a little plug.
All right. Maybe we can make something work. So.
Right.
Uh, Great. That sounds awesome. Anytime you can get out golfing and hang with the boys, it's always a great time.
Yeah.
So we're gonna jump in. Today is gonna be really an all NFL. I mean, things are starting to heat up a little bit. We're hoping to get maybe 2 or 3 episodes out this week, but we last episode we did some NFL defensive free agency, so we're gonna talk about some NFL news and then some offensive free agents. One of the big stories was Debo Samuel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like this move. A lot of people are iffy on this. He didn't have a great fantasy. If you're going straight fantasy year last year, it was a down year for Debo. But everybody's going to Washington. Every time we mention a free agent, it's Washington, Chicago, something
Yeah,
like that. But they gave up a fifth for him.
nothing.
That's nothing. They're paying him his
Well,
salary.
it's unbelievable how what a fifth round draft pick. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's 15 million a year, which is nothing now for a wide receiver. So it's
That
the
that's what his
salary is right.
that's what his salary is.
Yeah, 15 to 20. I believe it's 15. That's what I heard.
Let me
Um,
see if I can find it. Go ahead.
it's a very reasonable salary, and you gave up basically nothing to get him. And I think with yeah, he's not a burner, but they got McLaurin on the other side. This guy is one of the best run after the catch receivers out there. You get him for nothing. Veteran guy. I like the move. I think it makes the team better. Um, I know they like to throw the ball deep, but I think he's going to be a big weapon underneath. We all know he can do everything, run the ball, but I like the move. And again, you're giving up nothing, and his salary is really reasonable. So
Yeah, I mean,
I don't see where you go wrong with this one, to be honest.
I guess my concern is if he's gonna be is I mean I'm a you know I'm he obviously wanted out of San Francisco. Is he gonna be happy there? I mean, listen, I think you're. It was one of those years in San Francisco where everything went wrong, right?
Yeah,
Like
everything going wrong.
you have years where everything goes right, and it's like a magical season and things just go great, and then you have other seasons where it's like it just never seems to get on track, right?
Right.
And that's kind of the way it went there. um I
Well,
mean,
you remember? I remember. I mean, they lost McCaffrey right away. But for Debo, the game I remember was when they were playing. I believe it was Arizona. It was the rain game,
yeah,
rainy game there, and he talked a lot that week before that he wasn't getting the ball, and he had that slant, and it was a touchdown, and he drops it,
I was playing
and
a fantasy that week. I was
yeah, that was my lasting impression of Debo's season last year. It just went nowhere. And I really think people are looking at that and saying he's done. I just, he might be, but I think he gets a really great opposite receiver with him on McLaurin.
yeah.
And he gets a guy, I know he's only going to be a sophomore, but he looked awesome. And a good quarterback throwing the ball. And I like the trade. I don't see anything wrong with it.
I mean, I like the fact that last year they had Ertz as a tight end, who's a good tight end, but he's not a guy that demands 15 targets, right? Like
Right.
in
And you
San
look at the
Francisco,
targets he was getting.
when you're in
It's
San
unbelievable.
Francisco, you got all sorts of weapons that people want the ball, or people want the ball. How much, I don't know how much they really trust Purdy to sling it around. So I think there's a part of me that's like they really want to establish that running game a little
Right.
bit. I think if
Well,
Purdy's thrown the ball 45 times, you're probably not in a great spot.
right.
And for a team that's got Kittle, Debo, Ayuk when he was healthy.
Right.
Who's the third guy that had a couple huge games?
Oh, shoot. I had him. I know what you're talking about. I picked him up.
Yeah,
Jennings.
I didn't have him, but
Yeah, Jennings. I picked him
he
up.
had
He did decent.
yeah. I can't think of the name.
Jennings.
Jennings.
It's Jennings, right?
I
I
can't.
think I'm right.
But I just know that I think it's a good trade too. I mean, it's a fifth round pick. I say this all the time. Go back and look at the fifth rounders from 4 years ago and
Right.
see how many are even in the league or get real playing time. You're right. So his salary, this says it's like 12 something. Maybe the cash spent was 20 21. So I mean he's got a salary with them, but they got the space,
They
right?
got the space.
Now is the time when you
I mean,
got
yeah.
that rookie QB, you need to be spending that money and be going
Right.
for it, because in 3 seasons you're probably you got to I mean you're going to put the fifth year option on the quarterback, but then, you're going to have to extend them and it's going to be enormous.
Right. I mean, going back to San Francisco, Purdy's probably going to get paid this year. They,
Oh,
for
I
some reason, paid Ayuk, which, I mean, before he got hurt, it didn't look good. And they still got some big names, Trey Williams, is Trent Williams, the offensive lineman, gets paid really good money. They got Kittle.
How much do you give? How much do you give Purdy?
How much would I give him, or how much is he going to get paid? He's going to
I
get paid 55 to 60 million dollars a year.
I as a Seahawks fan, I pray that they give him that money.
Right.
I mean, I would be so excited. I mean, I text all of my Niners buddies.
Well, I mean, when Tua got paid, I mean, Buffalo fans were the same way. It was, yeah, this guy's in our division now for 4 more years easily. I mean, I want to play Tua. The guy's not terrible, but he's not gonna
Yeah,
win. He is what he is. His arm's not great. His mobility's not great,
yeah.
and he's kind of like a Purdy.
I, I
Purdy's great in the great situations. Adlib, I don't know.
yeah,
He's put up good numbers, but
he did. I just I don't know. I hope they give him a crap load of money. For me, I'm again I'm playing the old. Listen, I can offer you this much money if you want top of the line. You I guess look someplace because
right.
I'm not doing it.
I know it's gonna happen though. They don't have a choice. What are you gonna do? Who else are you gonna get?
Go get Darnold.
Darnold?
Go get
I mean, he
Darnold.
was there before, but they're not
He
gonna
was
do
there
that.
before. I mean, I again, depending on what Darnold's contract goes for, you know what I
I
mean?
mean, Purdy went to a Super Bowl. He
I,
went to he got hurt when he was playing he could have went to another one. He got hurt. I mean, I get why they feel like he earned it. So he's gonna get paid.
yeah. Well, I again, as a Seahawks fan, I hope he asks for the moon. I hope he gets everything.
Right.
But yeah, good move. Again, you're bringing in an established player.
Right.
You know, I mean, you hope you get a couple years out of Debo, and you got, like I said, you got a solid running game, but you don't have the pressure of you got to feed them 25 times. I think they have a solid running game, and you got a running quarterback and a guy that seems to have a good pretty good strong arm, and you got McLaurin across from you. So I
Right.
think that's a pretty good start to the offseason for Washington there.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh, Other receiver news: T. Higgins got franchised.
Second one. Second time he's been franchised.
Yeah. I mean, there's is it a placeholder till they can get something long term in place?
Um,
We'll probably think, but
no, I don't think so. Cincinnati. If you're talking maybe a good franchise that knows how to
yeah,
pay players, maybe. Cincinnati's awful. They don't want to pay anybody. Ever. They will this is the second time they franchised them. You know, Jamar Chase, he thought he was getting a contract last year. They withheld on him. I think they're I mean, would you trade Jamar Chase? This is a different route, but are you going to pay $60 million for two receivers? Maybe for 1 year, I guess you can do it, but
maybe they will this year. I guess it would depend on their cap situation. Maybe for this year, and I mean, maybe they do just keep the franchise on, run it back, hope to get a Super Bowl or something, and go from there. I don't see how you could pay him. I mean, you can't pay him and Chase top
I mean,
money.
if he's
You can't
making
borrow.
26, Chase is going to make 35 to 40. Chase is the best receiver. It's not even that close.
I mean,
That's a lot of money for two. They had those two last year. They put up unbelievable. If they make the playoffs, Burrow's the MVP in my book. The guy had an unbelievable year.
yeah.
They can put up points. No one's arguing that. But they've already had to cut a guard. They had to cut a defensive player. They're cutting salary because they know they got to pay Chase.
But
And
I wonder if they really think like, listen, we're going to re-sign Chase. We know we're going to.
yeah,
Let's just try and get one more year with Higgins.
and it
And
could be the sign. Put the tag on him, and then you're gonna trade him, and now you get value for him instead of just letting him walk. So That makes sense too. I don't hate that if that's what they end up doing. I think that makes the most
What are
sense.
you going to get?
I
What
can't
are you
see them
going to
doing
get?
T. Higgins.
Yeah.
I think you get a first round pick for T. Higgins.
Oh, I don't know. Teams teams have
Teams
loved those.
want if it
Now,
was
now you have to give up a first and you got to sign them.
right, it would be a sign and trade,
Like
yes, something like that.
why wouldn't you just try and draft a great receiver and
But you
pay
have. I'm not a big T. Higgins fan. The guy screws me all the time. Every time I take that guy, he screws me. But that's a
him?
different story. But in real life, they view him as a number one receiver. There's only so many number one receivers available, and I just think a team would give up a first. Now remember, the Bills got a second for. I know they ate his salary, but for Diggs, they got a second for him. Now he's 6 years, 7 years younger, and I just
but
feel a
Diggs
team would give up
wasn't
a first for him.
wasn't
Not
Diggs,
maybe not an early first, but I think they'd give a first for him.
wasn't Diggs considered a top 3 to 5 receiver?
Yeah, I
I'm
would
not.
say that. But at 31, 32, I mean,
Yeah, and they
the
ate a
age
ton.
means
But
something.
I don't think they get a first. I just
I bet you if they trade him, you get a first. Got 10
the
bucks on it.
we'll see. These teams are just they are again. If I'm not saying I wouldn't if I was later in the draft because
Right,
I believe in proven type players. You know what I mean?
right,
But um, I don't know. I don't know if again. I guess it depends on what salary he wants too. If he's asking
right.
for, I'm always skeptical of the number 2 receiver someplace that then is going somewhere to be the number one.
Right.
I don't
I
know.
think he would be around the range maybe he got, but he wants probably, everybody wants that signing bonus and, a long term deal
Yeah,
instead of
I
just
don't
that
want to
one.
pay him. I don't want to pay him 20
He's making 26. That's the average. That means that's the average wide receiver salary.
for the yeah. Was
It's not the average because he's got
it's no top
this
certain
is his
number,
second. Yeah, you're right. You're right. This
top
is because he was tagged
top
twice.
couple,
Yeah.
top 5 or
5
something.
maybe. Yeah, it might be the top 5 average.
I don't want to trade a first and then have to pay him that. I don't know. You're a Buffalo guy. Was it Peerless Price, right? Didn't he go to Atlanta?
Right.
These guys just too often you're, you want to be a number one, you think you're a number one, and you go someplace else and you're the number one and it's not that great. And I'm not saying T. Higgins isn't really good, but when you got Joe Burrow throwing you the ball and you got Jamar Chase across from you who teams are always aware of where that guy is with probably 2 double coverage almost every play, right? Um,
Right.
it makes it a bit easier. I mean, it does. I would. I'm not trading a first and
So you
signing.
got someone like the Bill. Speaking of the Bills and one of the worst trades, they gave up the first and another first for Sammy Watkins, and that was an unproven guy, and that was like, I mean, you get that too. At least you know what T Higgins is.
I agreed.
So the Bills like did it, and they got a guy who was unproven. Now he was supposed to be the next great thing, and he wasn't. There's always those guys, but you
But
see these guys trading up and
you
trading
did
back.
financial commitment to Sammy Watkins though,
There's a different kind of money salary. Yes, I agree
right?
with that, but
Sammy
still
Watkins.
think I still, yeah, that guy was a bust.
Oh, so
Uh, but
yeah,
I think if he goes anywhere, I think he stays. I just don't think. I think Cincinnati's a horrible run franchise, and I think he stays. And
you don't think you?
I'm nervous about. If I'm a Bengals fan, I'm worried about Jamar Chase and his getting signed. They do not like paying players. They love to draft you and keep you for your rookie contract, and then see you. Burrow's like the only guy that they've ever really signed long term. They're a horrible franchise,
Yeah, no.
and if I'm worried that they did this because they're worried about Chase. So we'll see. It could be just a placeholder, and we'll have to wait and see. But
I
right
mean,
now he's a Bengal, and he was the top free agent and offensively off the board. So why don't we talk about some other free agents?
yeah, for sure. couple other guys that are towards the top. Chris Godwin.
Right.
I mean, he's entering his age 29 season.
Coming off a bad knee injury.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, this is one of those guys. You give him a 1 year deal, maybe. I don't know when he's going to be fully healthy. You see these guys that come back, and it usually takes a year and a half to get back to full health, and he's already 29. If it's me, I mean, we talk about and put Diggs in the same category. Diggs is even older than him.
I was gonna say, I know when I was going through this list, Diggs was on there too, and I'm like, geez, to me there's a number of these wide receivers that that are out there that you're like, what kind of contract does it get? I mean, I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I know Diggs' contract last year because the Bills paid the whole thing was 31 million. That was his contract that he got last year. Now,
But these guys that are beat up and a little older, and
right,
you know, I know heading into this season coming or last season, you know, people were super pumped about Keenan Allen and the Bears, and I was like,
right.
I don't like it. I just
Yeah, players that get over set age, it's just you know these non-contact injuries, these quads, calves, you know
I'll
knees.
tell you who I would like, and this may seem like a homer, but if the Seahawks cut Tyler Lockett, I I was some team. Now again, you know, you're probably not going super long term,
Right,
but the guy never gets hurt, never takes a hit. He almost
right,
never takes a hit. He plays very much like Wes Welker and those guys used to. Knows where the first down is, gets there, gets down, gets out of bounds. Um, his production is down a lot. I mean, I watch all of the games. I think
right,
his production's mostly down because one, they have zero running game, which means they have a tough time moving the chains.
right.
Two, JSN has really,
Yeah,
really come on strong.
right. He had a great second half of the season.
And you've still got DK over there. I think a lot of those routes that would go to Lockett typically went to JSN.
Right,
I really think Lockett has a season or two left for the right team where he can come in and be that, you know, the third receiver. Still a third receiver type guy, but I think you could get I think he could be a bargain. And he is a super smart football player. He knows how to run routes. He knows how to get open. He knows how to find a zone. He's got enough speed to get open downfield a little bit. And like I said, he doesn't put himself in bad spots where he gets hurt.
what do you
And
think about speaking of Seattle receivers? DK's been kind of hear rumors about Buffalo kind of being interested, or at
I'm
least
hearing I've
hearing
been
news about it.
I man, you know how you get guys on your team and you're like you want to do everything you can to like love them, right? And I
Right.
do
I know what you're gonna say about him.
I do you've probably heard me say it a bunch. I want to love the guy, right? Like as soon as he got there, I loved his style. He kind of had that swagger. Just a physical beast, like a beast. But his production's just good.
Right.
And
I agree.
to be honest, the guy can't grow up. He's immature. He takes three. I mean, I could get my 12-year-old daughter down here because she hears me say it every 3 weeks, like maybe every 2 weeks. Like, come on, man, what are you doing? Like, just
Yeah. Taking those 15 yarders. I've been you always see him.
yeah, they're like 15 yarders for pushing and hitting and running his mouth, and
Right.
then you also have literally 5 to 6 holding penalties a year that are just you're just like, dude, you didn't even need to hold him. Like, what are we doing? We're 12 yards downfield, and there's been like corners can seem to get in his head, and like even last year, his production was really good. I had a bunch of guys in my fantasy leagues. They're all trying to trade him to me,
Yeah.
and I'm like, listen, in week I think it was back to back weeks, maybe 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. He had huge fantasy games, but that's because he caught like 60-yard touchdown passes. Both of them were basically blown coverages. I'm like, those aren't going to happen. They're not going to keep happening. You know what I mean? He was way, way up there in fantasy points after like 3 or 4 weeks. But both of those passes, I freaking could have caught him. I mean, they were just
Right.
blown coverages. He's wide open. Gino just lobs him the ball. I know one was Miami. I can't remember who the other one was, but his fantasy points for the week are like 35. I'm like that was like a 15-point play, and it was literally not the play calling. It was nothing that he did. It was a blown coverage, and they just chucked it down there. So, um,
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want him. I know he's been brought up. A guy I would like in Buffalo is Hollywood Brown. Uh, I know he came off a shoulder injury. It's not a knee. He came back. He seemed fine. I think the Bills could use some speed out there. That's one thing they really lack on this team. They got Coleman. He's a big body. No speed. No speed at all.
I,
Um,
I'm
they got Hollins. He's basically Coleman, but just a little bit more polished. They got the slot. That he's great. Uh, they need some sort of speed on this team as wide receiver. And I feel like he'll be a well priced guy who I think could fit in on this team. So he's a guy I'm really looking at when free agency comes out.
I liked him a lot last year in my one dynasty league. I have Rasheed Rice, but I also had Hollywood Brown. I agree. I mean, again, we talked in one of our episodes about injuries. Are they fluky? Are they
Right,
not? Right? Like he's coming off some seasons where he's been banged up,
right.
but I think in the little bit and glimpses that he's played, I think it's there. You could probably get him at a bargain price. He's the kind of guy you get at a pretty decent price. And if he does stay healthy, I think you're going to look unbelievable. If he
Yeah,
doesn't, you're like, well, I mean, we took a shot on a guy that, had potential, but, big upside, and it didn't work. And sometimes it doesn't. But
no,
yeah, if
I know.
I was a GM and I needed something, I would definitely be going. I mean, I would be all over that you know, over Diggs and maybe even Godwin. I don't know. I've never loved Godwin and 29 and that injury. I just
Yeah, coming off those knees, that's totally different. And Brown came back healthy. He played in the playoffs. It didn't seem to bother him at all through the rest of the season after he came back. So I'm
well, and
confident
I
he's
think you got to also consider the contracts, right? Like
right,
what Godwin's going to get versus what Hollywood Brown's going to get.
right. No, I agree. A lot of offensive linemen out there, but one of the best is Ronnie Ronnie Stanley.
Yeah.
And people should just look at the Eagles and go, we should do that. We should just get great offensive linemen, and our running back won't get touched for the first 5 yards.
Well, I think
And
I think the issue with him because he's in Baltimore, and I think they have another guy that's up for a big contract on the offensive line. I think they said that they're only going to be able to
afford one,
really, really pay one. But I agree. I mean, I mean, I've watched the Seahawks for years with this offensive line just disaster. I
right?
mean, they draft them and they just can't develop them. I got a bunch of Giants fans, friends that are Giants fans, and
Yeah,
every
they've been
week,
so
every week
bad for
my
years.
phone just blows up. They're like, it's so bad. It's how awful they are. Um, the Bears. I know we tell like what a train wreck. The Bears are one of the top teams to land him. Um, I think Baltimore has to make a choice between I forget the other guy's name, but him and Stanley. But yeah, one of them is going to be available, and some of these teams have huge money to spend. Like the Bears, they got
Yeah,
cap space.
they're gonna first day they are signing one or two offensive linemen. First
Yeah,
day they're gonna spend big money on it, and they should. I mean, this guy, he was on his back or running around, and he was all over the place. So he
Yeah.
needs some support on the offensive line. So I think the Bears, you're going to see free agency open up, and you're going to see Stanley's name, Cam
Yeah. I saw
Robinson,
that the Chiefs were named as a spot for Stanley too to maybe go. Um,
right?
they
Yeah, they had some big issues on tackle.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I think it's kind of an. I mean, the Eagles had talent all over the place, but the Bills didn't, and I don't think the Chiefs did either. But they pretty much had pretty good, decent offensive lines. The Bills had a very good offensive line,
Yeah.
and I think you could survive in this
Bills
league.
the Bills have built that good offensive line without like
Really spending a lot of money.
yeah.
Yeah, they've done a great job of
Like a couple of those guys are like lower round picks, right? I think.
correct. Brown, the tackle is great. He was a third round pick. They got him just because he's a monster of a human being and turns into a good athlete. And they had good coaching on these offensive linemen. You can tell when the team's got good coaching because again, these guys they're all third, fourth round picks, and it's a very good offensive line. So
Yeah.
uh,
I think the lines are funny because they are crazy important. Like
yeah,
you watch teams that can just protect, and you're like, dude, this guy's just standing back there
right.
for. And then you watch teams like in the Super Bowl when you could get to the quarterback from the defensive line, and it's like in the NFL and the draft, like it's kind of hard to get excited about.
No, I know. No one wants you to. It is true. Your
Like
team's up, and you're
a
looking
lot
at
that
all the star
right?
players, and then they're like, from Wisconsin,
Yeah,
uh, tackle, and you're like, ugh. But then it's probably what could be one of the best players in the team.
and to be and it makes a huge difference. I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, I have a bunch of buddies that played, college football and stuff, and they tell me all the line or all the time about the importance of it, and it's built there. And I watch, like I said, I've watched Aaron Donald for years, and I'm just like, Jesus, we have like our whole line can't stop this guy. He's just disrupting play. Like every third or fourth play, he's just blowing up, and you're just like, oh man. And then you watch, like I said, you watch an offensive line where the guy's got time and the QB's back there patting the ball, and you're like, just wait
Right.
for someone to get open. You're like, what's going on? Like, the teams will send blitzes, the blitz gets picked up, and you're like,
Right.
it's
All day.
it's it's crazy town, but it's huge. Um, so yeah, I think the lines. I get excited when Seattle goes after defensive line and offensive line because I know it's important. I'm not sure how good they are
Right.
at doing it
Right.
because it
Hey, I
doesn't.
got a couple more positions here. Uh, Running back's kind of weak, but I got one I want to talk about is Harris Najee.
Oh,
Um,
what a,
the Seems like it's a resurgence of the running back. After last year, you know, Saquon just got paid. That's gonna screw the Bills. But uh, Najee Harris is interesting. I don't love him. He brings nothing to the passing game. Uh, there's games. I guess every time I watch it, it's just boring football. But I don't know. What's your opinion on Najee?
it's a little biased because I in my Delta Fantasy Football League, which is a long term deal, I I drafted him as a rookie, and he had like
Right,
a great rookie season,
he
right?
did.
And I signed him to like a 5 year deal, and I thought, dude, I'm in there,
Yeah,
and he's just been a pile of hot garbage since.
right.
And
My opinion on him too.
and,
He
and
shows up
uh,
once in a blue moon.
their offensive line's terrible, or
Right,
like
it's not good.
just terrible. And the quarterback there has been the last couple seasons, like Roethlisberger's last 2 seasons, like he looked as fat as me. I'm like, this guy's a mess.
Right.
Like he just wasn't good, and since then it has not been good. I, I don't even know what the market would be for the guy. Like I don't know how little I could pay a running back like him, but I'm not paying him a lot at all.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think he's one of
literally,
those guys that
because
sits
I
around
would
for a while.
rather take a swing at a guy in the fifth or sixth round.
Yeah. Oh, I
Um,
know. I agree with you 100%. I mean, the Bills have been doing it recently where they just draft a running back every fourth round, fifth round, and you always find you could sneak a guy always.
yeah, I mean,
I matter of fact, the other free agent is Aaron Jones. I'd rather have Aaron Jones. Guy's very good out of the backfield. I know he's older,
yeah,
but
yep.
you can get him for real cheap, probably on a 1 year deal, and I'd rather have him. Najee does nothing for me. Uh, I'm very interested to see where he goes, but I think he's like a guy who will sit there for a while, and we'll be waiting to see. He'll get taken by somebody, but
I
I
mean,
think we can get him at a
I
reasonable price.
really, I mean, when I say I don't like the Steelers, I don't like the Steelers.
Right?
Um, but I mean, I can't even. I could be wrong, but I can't. I have to assume he's not an outstanding blocker, right?
Right.
Or
Yeah,
else
'cause
he
he's
would have
never
been.
out there on third. He's not a third down back.
He's not a third down back. So if you're not bringing me that, I literally like I don't know. I'd rather draft a guy in the sixth round and pay him whatever, and just hope that I mean, you see that in the NFL every
All the
three
time.
times,
Yeah.
3 4 times a season, right?
Yeah.
Some
No,
guy
I agree with you.
playing time as a fifth rounder and he looks decent. I'm not. I mean, I'm not taking. I wouldn't pay Najee a ham sandwich.
right. I agree. I agree with you on this one. And then
Aaron
we got to
Jones
talk about. Well, go
thing
ahead.
that with Aaron Jones, I mean he had a nice season, right?
He did. Yeah, I thought he had a good season.
I
The
mean, I
offensive
don't know.
of the Vikings was very good.
You know, you're looking for a guy to come in there and you know, I don't know. Can
And you
you?
know, you had a guy like Eckler this year who came into Washington. He was like a veteran, really good hands. I thought he fit in really good there,
Yeah,
and I think Jones has that. He could fit in that team like that.
yeah.
Maybe not. He's not the starting running back, but a guy in 2 minute and third down situations can really help out your team.
I mean,
I mean,
could
I would love him on my team if I had the option to get him. But that's the kind of guy I'd rather have, and I think you can get him cheap. And I think in situations, he especially passing situations.
how old is he? Do you know?
That's a good question. Let me
Let
see.
me see. I got it right here. He's 30. Um, I mean, again, I guess it depends what you're asking out of your starter, right, or out of your running backs.
Right,
Can he still give you 12 to 15 carries? I think so. I mean,
right. No, I agree. And if it comes down to it, I think he can hold the rock for a game or two. I just don't
he-
think he's an every down back anymore. But
how many are there?
how many teams have that? There's very few. So
I mean, they
yeah,
don't.
I think you can get him for a deal, and that's the kind of guy I would go for. I mean, so
Yeah, I mean, look, you watch you watch some of these running backs come out of the backfield, and it, it almost seems unstoppable, right? Like there's times you would watch McCaffrey, and you're like, everybody knows it's 3rd and 6. Everybody knows you got to watch him out of the backfield. Yet
right,
he had 7 catches for first downs in
yeah,
one.
runs those good routes. Yeah,
And Jones can really catch the ball out of the backfield. So yeah, I mean I would take Jones out of all of all of those guys for again not huge bucks. You know the running back position isn't getting it, but I think for some team he could be super effective for sure.
yeah. And last, you got to talk about quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I guess the number one guy out there, they didn't put the tag on him. I thought they would, but they didn't. Is Sam Darnold? What do you think about not putting a tag on him? And I know they drafted the Notre Dame, no, the Michigan guy last year,
yeah.
and so they have him. But so I guess
I,
they're assuming he's coming back.
who?
Who's that Michigan quarterback
JJ
for?
McCarthy.
Yeah, McCarthy.
Yeah, this tells me. I mean, this tells me that they're going McCarthy, and that's it, right?
I agree with you. I
Like
agree with you. I
can't.
thought if they thought McCarthy wasn't going to be healthy enough to come back, I think they put the tag on him because he had Now, you remember the last two games, and he was not good.
Yeah,
But he had a good season.
yeah.
He
They
came
they
down to
have
earth
to
a little
know.
bit late.
No, they have to know that he's getting a contract someplace, right?
Well, he's getting, but they could have tagged him. They
No,
could
no.
have
I'm
tagged
I'm
him.
saying I'm saying by not
Oh
tag,
yeah, he's gone. He's
right?
gone.
They said, hey, we're not going to
Yes,
tag him. He's not coming back here. I guess the one
absolutely.
way,
I think the same thing. If they didn't, not tagging him, they know that he's gone. So
unless the only way that I could see, I mean, this would have to, like, if he goes out and he's demanding $55 million,
yeah, which I don't see that.
and a couple teams are like, no, we're out, and then they move on to something else, right? Let's say now Aaron Rodgers gets picked up, and Fields and Wilson fills in spots. Maybe Darnold like overplays his cards, thinking that he's got something, that he's got leverage. A couple teams, two teams say, you know what, we're drafting guys, and then maybe the market really, really dries up. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going. I think he's going someplace. He's definitely done in Minnesota. Minnesota. I'll say this: Minnesota's going to look awfully stupid if McCarthy doesn't pan out.
Right. I think they'll get a veteran guy. I don't know who, but one of those
Joe,
guys that's just gonna
Joey
look.
Flacco. We
Yeah,
couch Flacco.
maybe a Flacco. Someone like that though, that is beyond his prime by a good amount, but a name that you've heard of to back him up just in case there's something that goes wrong.
Man, there are some.
But Darnold's gonna. I mean, Darnold could go to Pittsburgh. Kind of fits Pittsburgh. They don't have any quarterback now, so he fits there. I'm trying to figure out where else he kind of fits, but maybe the Raiders.
Who else needs them? Raiders.
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 Yeah.
Titans, if you don't want to. I mean,
Yeah,
listen,
Titans are a team that could really use somebody.
if you
Um,
want to bring, I mean, maybe they're not completely done with Will Levis, but maybe you want to bring Darnold in to
yeah,
play
the
a season or
competition.
two, let Levis, you know, grow and mature a little bit, and then you draft Colorado, the Hunter, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Yeah, then you got the Steeler quarterbacks there from this past year, Wilson and Fields. Fields has been tied to the Jets a little bit. Obviously, they need something. Um, I guess that's a good fit. I mean, I don't know what fits with the Jets. They've had everything and nothing fits. But he's a stopgap guy. They've been tied to a quarterback drafting, but you never know what happens to the draft. Anyways, he wouldn't hurt to just have him. And Wilson, I want to say Wilson might be done. I know it's not true, but maybe I don't know where he goes. I think we've seen him now for. I've seen enough of him to say he's just not that good, and he's not going to help your team win. So
Again, he's the kind of
he
guy.
doesn't seem like he'll be a backup.
I think I guess it depends on what, like, you. Wilson could come in, and I think he's going to win you a handful of games. Like, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think he's going
he did that.
2-14 with them,
Yeah,
but you're not winning anything either. So
yeah,
it's like, at that point, what are you trying to kind of accomplish? What
yeah.
about? Did you hear the thing about? Oh man, I wanted to text a couple of my buddies about the Giants moving on from Stafford, and now they're interested in Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I heard about this too.
Oh my God.
What are they gonna
Oh,
do? They gotta have a quarterback. Would you have? I think we've. Would you rather have Wilson or Rodgers? I'd rather have Rodgers.
but it cannot. Okay, but
I
my
know I'm talking strictly football. Strictly football.
yeah. Um,
No
oh,
off the field issues.
okay, but you're assuming that now I got to say that I struck out on Fields and I struck out on Darnold
Right.
because I want both of those guys. Uh, where do the Giants draft? What, 3?
Giants draft. Yeah, yeah, three.
I so I'm not taking Aaron Rodgers. I'm not doing it.
Well, if they're going to draft a young quarterback, Aaron Rodgers is not the guy to have.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson would be better fit there then.
So if I'm the Giants, I guess maybe I'm interested in Darnold or Fields. Right? Again, I don't. Let's put it this way: if they don't think that there's a stud quarterback in the class, right, or they think it's Ward, but they are confident that he's not going to be there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then maybe you know I don't know. I mean maybe you could maybe oh man I just don't want Rodgers. I don't want the headache, and I don't think he's that good. And he's just a pain in the ass. I'm out. I'm out. I'm trying to get Fields. I'm trying to get Darnold. I think honestly, I almost think I'd rather have Wilson if it's a 1 year thing.
Yeah. No, I agree
Like if
with you
I'm
there.
trying to just buy a year,
If you're, yeah, and if you're going to have a rookie quarterback coming in, Rodgers is not the guy. He just isn't.
I got
So,
one thing. I could say this. I could say this. I could see you got neighbors there, right?
right.
So I don't know. Can Rogers come in and just give neighbors just a monster season like a Devontae?
Yeah, he could. He's
15.
much better. He's got a better chance of doing that than Wilson.
I'll give you that. So maybe from there, like you listen, you're thinking, he's going to get this guy 15 targets a game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe. I mean, he was just in with the Jets. They had Wilson, or they had Garrett Wilson,
Yeah.
and they brought in Devontae, and I thought, well, this is a mess because now you got two guys that want
Yeah.
14 targets a game.
Yeah.
But I guess from that perspective, but if I'm the Giants, I don't again, for the sake of me being able to rip on my Giants buddies, I guess I hope Rodgers goes there. I don't want any part of it. When they're like, we're turning the page on Stafford and now we're interested in Rodgers, I was like, oh geez Louise.
All right.
So I don't. Is there a chance? Is there a chance that that Justin Fields could still be a really good quarterback?
Sure. I don't think so, but sure there is. I mean, we've seen it in the last couple of years, even with Darnold having a resurgence. Fields probably hasn't gotten a fair shot. Um, but if he goes to, I mean, sure. That's all.
Yeah.
I
Listen,
don't know. I don't see it, but there's always a chance.
you can't deny his running ability.
No, and that's what keeps him around.
He seems like he's got a pretty strong arm. I'm not sure if he's exceptional at reading defenses,
Right.
but he hasn't been in great offensive situations either.
No, I
He
agree.
really hasn't.
I
And
agree.
all again, he's young. I think it's really hard with these young guys, right? Like
Right.
I'm not totally cashed out on the fact that 2 or 3 more years to mature and grow up, that Justin Fields won't still have the ability and then maybe the maturity to be, again, he's not a top 3 guy, but to be around that top 10 guy. I don't
Right.
know.
I'd rather take him than, I mean, if you're gonna take a risk on any of those guys, I mean, he's at least young and he's got running ability.
Sure.
So I agree with you there. Um, I don't know if I've seen enough to say he's got star power, but who knows? Gets in the right situation, right coach, it very well could happen. So,
So
you want to talk some bets?
yeah, let's get into I mean, do we? I guess we have to. I mean,
I don't want to talk about bets, but I guess we have
uh,
to.
we right after our 4-0 week, we
Right?
4-0 episode, we come back with this.
Yeah, bunch of garbage.
I'll go
Great
first. I had
dog
Winnipeg
shit.
Jets. I had the Winnipeg Jets -1.5 versus San Jose. I mean, the Sharks are awful. The Jets won 2-1. I lose. I'm a loser.
Right?
My next one, Delaware State -3.5. They're at home, small spread, one of my favorite spots. They win the game, but they win by 2. Not enough to cover. I go 0-2, and that drops me to 5-5.
Right.
Very sad. I win both games, but I don't win either bet.
Yeah, that's better than I did. I didn't even win the games. Yeah, I had Texas Tech getting two at home versus Houston. They ended up losing by 6. I had the Houston is due to lose. They were on a 6 game streak. I thought they were going on a road. Texas Tech was a top 10 team, and I had they were due um, in my head, and
Yeah,
they weren't. They weren't due.
they weren't.
And I also had Michigan going to Nebraska. I mean, who wants to go to Nebraska and travel? And Nebraska was getting one at home. And it really brought basketball back many years. It was the final score. Nebraska didn't score. It was 50-45.
Oh,
Not a good game. That's not a good. Who had to watch that game? That was a bad game. But Michigan ended up winning.
the only way it's a good game is if it's March Madness because it's close.
It's close, but that is a bad game.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go back to the Suns. The Suns playing Thursday. They play the Clips. I'm taking the over in this game. The Suns are awful. They're so bad defensively. I just they're the points 223. The over is 223.
Uh-oh. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on, if we lost Tommy or what's up. So uh we'll see if he pops back on here. But it sounds like he had the Suns over 223. I know he is not a fan of the Suns. I will give you my two bets and see if Tommy jumps back in here. I got one college, one NBA. These are for Thursday. Michigan versus Maryland. It's a battle of two top 25 programs. Michigan's at home. They're giving up 1.5. I will take Michigan. Maryland is coming off a road game. This is back-to-back road games for college teams. That is not ideal. I like Michigan at home. It's a less than a bucket, so I'll take Michigan minus 1.5 in that highly contested matchup. And college, Bucks versus the Mavs. Bucks are at home. They're giving up 9.5. Mavs got the news today about Kyrie and the ACL. I really can't imagine things going any worse in Dallas in the last couple months. I mean, you got the trade, and now you got the Anthony Davis injury. Now you got Kyrie. Geez, if you're a Mavs fan, that's a rough little stretch. I'm going to lay the 9.5 at home with the Bucks. I think the Bucks will cover that, and I could see things getting really ugly down the stretch here for the Mavs. So those are my two bets. We got one of Tommy's. And, oh, there he is.
I'm back.
He's
We
back.
talked too
All right.
long. We talked too
So,
long.
yeah, so I just gave my two bets. I'll repeat them for you real quick. I got Michigan minus 1.5 at home versus Maryland. That's a top 25 matchup in college basketball right before we get into these conference tournaments. And I got the Bucks minus 9.5 versus the Mavs. We didn't even talk about this, but did you see about Kyrie?
No, I didn't see.
ACL. He's out for the
Oh.
season. The Mavs season is going. I mean, it
Yeah.
is dropping. It's a disaster. It's going south faster than you guys walking into the bippity boppity.
Right.
It's really ugly. So
I like those. I had one more.
Yeah.
One more.
Fire away.
And I had Florida versus Alabama. It's over, another over. I'm too young to bet the under. Too much. It's not enough fun. Alabama's no longer that defensive team that they used to be. They can score some points. Again, I like the 178. I think it's a little bit too light, so I'm going to go the over.
Oh, so this guy's got 2 overs.
2 overs this time. Yep.
I like it. I like it. All right, that sounds great. We are all set here. Please give us a subscribe. We are on. I got to remember these all: YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and what's the other big one? Spotify.
Spotify.
Yep. I had a buddy today at the ice rink tell me he's driving all day tomorrow. He's already downloaded the episode, so he's
Nice.
self caught up. We are slowly working our way up, and the number of views and downloads, and I love it. We're having a good time doing it. I think the next episode we're going to dive into some baseball, and we will also probably have an episode coming up shortly about fantasy baseball and some details as we get ready to jump down that.
Get our drafts.
Yeah, couple drafts coming up.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I can't wait to pass on Juan Soto, that greedy jerk.
Never listen. I will talk about it. I have a strategy. It's never fails me. I've come in first or second 3 straight years. I'm going to teach people how to do this, so you got to pay attention.
All right, and we're considering. We got to figure out, but we're considering about trying to bring in a special guest for one of those episodes. So give us a subscribe. And
is it Juan Soto?
What?
Is it Juan Soto?
No, it's not.
Oh, damn it!
That
would have been a good get.
If I gave him a ton of money, I'd have to give him. That's all he cares about.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, if the Royals offered him a nickel more than what the Mets did, he would have went there.
Yeah, true. It's true. He probably makes more than the whole Royals team. So.
Oh, absolutely. So, all right, sounds good. We are signing off. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.